Did the dead miss us? Recently during a consultation, towards the end of the consultation, the lady I was working with, she asked me, she turned to me and said, do you know, Shane, do you think the dead miss us? Because I really do miss my mum. And I just thought to myself, what a profound question, what a really important question, and a question that I think it's really kind of really important to explore, because you know, so many of us have lost a loved one, and we really kind of miss that physical presence within our lives. And I think it's a really, really profound question. What I really kind of know is this, that so often loved ones really try to grab our attention, and they grab our attention in so many different ways. You know, we've explored some of them before, but let's kind of take a look at the ways that they try to make contact with us. One of the ways that I've seen time and time and time again within my own experience and the experiences of those that I get to consult every day is that one of the things that Spirit like to do, and I'm going to really explain to you the whys behind all of this as well. One of the things they like to do to be able to grab that attention is they kind of emanate their presence from a doorway. And you might think to yourself, hold on a minute, I felt as if I've been watched from a doorway, or something's kind of lingering in the doorway. And that's the important thing. They almost linger in that doorway, emanating that presence, if to say to you, do you know what, I am here, I'm here. You know, because the thing is about doorways is that we are very aware of them. You know, they're locked completely into our subconscious. You know, we're always aware of them. You know, if it be a doorway, a passageway, a hallway, even the stairway. You know, they're thresholds that we cross every day. So they're really locked into our subconscious. So Spirit, you know, for them to be able to kind of get our attention, they just kind of emanate that presence, that sense of there's something there, that sense of I'm being watched. One of the conversations I've had with the innate and I've had with Spirit is why do that? And one of the things that they say to me is that nowadays, and I think there's so much truth to this, is nowadays that life moves so quick, it moves so fast, it moves at so much speed. You know, everyone kind of rushing out the house, rushing back into the house, rushing through the evening. A friend of mine says, you're either kind of moving in time or you're moving through time. I think so many of us are literally moving through time. So it's a lot more difficult, if you like, for Spirit to make contact with us, because our focus is literally about getting the next thing done or moving through time. So Spirit are working, if you like, a lot harder to grab our attention. So doorways are really profound. You know, you can be sitting anywhere you are now within a room, and I can guarantee you'll be very aware of where the doorway is. It's locked completely into our subconscious. I was also sharing the other day an experience that I had, that I kind of remembered from writing about this, is that when I was a child, I can remember this window, this upstairs window, of being watched. You know, I had this real strong feeling. I was playing outside as a kid, and I was kind of running around as you do. And this particular day, I almost stopped. You know, I was almost stopped in my tracks and looked up to this upstairs window, almost expecting my mum to be there. You know, watching out the window to make sure I'm okay. And I looked up, and no one was there. But yet, I felt as if I was being watched, and I thought, well, maybe mum is there, I just can't see her. carried on playing and kind of didn't think much of it. Then over the coming weeks, that would happen again, it happened again, it happened again. Always I kind of be very aware of this top, I think it was a right-hand window, and this feeling of being watched. And then one particular day, I'm out playing and almost kind of, you know, got used to this feeling of this sense of being watched. And it was very, very strong and very, very powerful. And I looked up, and as I looked up, my mum opened the front door, downstairs front door, and called me in for my dinner. So I knew it was never my mum, because she was downstairs and the feeling was being emanated from the upstairs window. You know, that was all about grabbing my attention. And it wasn't then long after that that I had an experience of actually seeing a presence at the end of the bed, you know, that turned out to be my grandmother. Because what had happened, and some of you will know this from previous videos, I called out for my mum and dad, and they never come to see I was okay. Same house, by the way. Never came to see I was okay. And what I discovered years later is that I'd almost, you know, numb to the spot. I was kind of really petrified. What had happened is I hadn't physically called out. I thought I had called out in my head, hence why mum and dad never came to see I was okay. The next day, and I have no recollection of this, I described this lady in so much detail. My dad recognised who it was. It turned out to be my grandmother, who passed when I was only 2 years old. And at the time I was around about 7 years old, so I have no recollection of her. That's how it all started. Some of these experiences, you know, have kind of led me to where I am now, because I've asked the question, what is that? Who is that? You know, and sometimes you can say, well, the experience I'm having is my imagination. But the thing is that with that, being watched is an experience, a feeling outside of yourself. Okay, it has a very different quality to it, and the quality of that experience is really, really important. Is, you know, quite often when you kind of have that sense of something in a doorway or being watched, there's almost an edgy feeling to it. There's almost an unnerving feeling. And as far as I absolutely understand the conversations I've had with the innate and I've had with spirit, is that that's exactly what it's designed to do. It's designed to make you a little bit edgy, a little bit unsure, to grab your attention. So some of the other ways that they tend to make contact is also, you know, it's also through smells, you know. They kind of bring, again, this cannot be imagined. You cannot imagine a smell. You're either smelling it or you're not. Yeah. Some of the other ways, which I think are very profound, and I had an experience myself in this form, is, you know, they send us dreams, and quite often they send us the dreams that they're fine, you know, that they are okay. You know, I can recall a dream shortly after my own mum had passed. Many years of leading up to that, my mum had been very unwell, and she'd gone through a very difficult time, and I'd not seen her in a while. And within this dream, I saw this beautiful garden. It was just this really beautiful, if you can imagine and visualize an English garden, archetypal English garden. And it was just kind of surrounded by pink and white roses. But within the dream, it was almost as if the air was full of the scent of these roses. It was really kind of very profound, very clear, and almost had a different quality to the light within this garden, which is all very interesting. And there was this tiny pathway that led to this blossom tree, and this tree was in this just beautiful blossom. Again, you could feel and smell the scent almost within the air, within the dream. And underneath this large tree was a bench, and the bench kind of, I remember this bench, it almost felt very inviting. It felt very warm. And I sat down on this bench, and within moments you could kind of make out that there was a figure walking towards me. And this figure, as it became clearer, I recognised it to be my mum. You know, it was approaching me, and as she come forward, there was this real kind of sense of a smile, and there was this lightness to her within her face and within how she felt, and I almost kind of, you know, sensed her to be at peace. And she sat there, with me. And this was the interesting thing. Whilst I can't recall the conversation, and I still haven't recalled the conversation, I can feel the words within my heart. And I really don't say that lightly, because I woke up the next day knowing and remembering the dream, and knowing that she's at peace, we're at peace, and knowing that she's with her parents, knowing that she's with my grandparents. Now, her mum is the grandmother figure that appeared when I was 7, and I believe it was the lady that was watching me from the window. So here's the thing. So if you get a sense of you're being watched, or there's a presence lingering in the doorway or in the hallway or in the stairway, you know, they're very poignant places that spirit tend to place themselves and emanate their presence. Is next time you feel that, is kind of ask yourself, who is that? Is that male or female? You know, in my years of kind of showing people the inner mechanics of holistic mediumship, one of the things that I really do understand and I really grasp very strongly is about asking the questions, and then kind of listening from a deeper place inside of you. Okay, so who is that? Is that male? Is that female? And just kind of listen back. Quite often, you know, we can discount so many of these experiences down to our imagination. But like I say, is with a smell, you either experience it or you don't. You cannot put that down to your imagination. And what's happened for me going forward, there have been odd occasions and odd times that I smell roses really strongly and very powerfully, in the least likely of places when I least expect it, which is another important point. And I just know inside, I know in my heart that that is my mum communicating with me. Now, I've been talking over a period of time to a neurologist, and who has a very open attitude to spirit and the afterlife. And one of the things he said, he laughed and he turned around and said, is that if, and spirit said it quite often too, if it was an end and that was it, wouldn't that be a flaw in the design? With all this super intelligence that's within the world, within the universe, if you like, wouldn't that be a flaw in the design? So we've had those conversations, and one of the things I was saying to him is, how do they bring the smell? How are they activating the smell? One of the things that we've kind of debated over time is, you know, if they can trigger a body response in us, so i.e. I can sit down and I can do a consultation, suddenly I just feel like I'm choking, I start coughing, and I look at the lady and say, this is your dad, he was a heavy smoker, always had a fag in his mouth, and he went with lung cancer, and that's what the coughing's about. The lady turns around and says to me, yes. Well, how's that happening? That is a triggered body response within my own body. That I also believe that the same is with smells. It's triggering the memory recall of the smell and the smells appearing, because you might be the only person that's smelling it within the room. These are things just to consider. I believe that as we go forwards, science and all of this is going to meet at some point. It's starting to within kind of quantum physics, quantum mechanics, yeah? So, you know, I'm always trying to really kind of show people there's a realness to what we do. It's not this kind of untangible thing. The innate can be very tangible, and to almost take some of the mystery out of it, you know, because I believe naturally we all have the ability. So as I say, you know, there's so many things that happen, but we kind of discount a lot of this as being our imagination. You know, a picture frame, this is another one that I absolutely love. A picture frame falls over. And it's a picture frame of somebody that you loved and you lost that's in spirit, and their picture falls over, but yet it never breaks. And you can put that down to the, you know, there's a wind, or there's a draft, or it's the dog knocking over, or the kids, or it's the house settling, you know, because that seems the most logical reason. But the interesting find and thing I've discovered over time is that quite often when it's a picture of a loved one, there's an association. And also is the fact that the picture never breaks. You know, I've known people's pictures fall off walls of a loved one, and it's never broken. You know, so what's going on? The other thing that I also I've explored over time is, you know, significant songs that come on the radio. You know, only in the last couple of months I was working with a lovely lady, and I kind of looked up from the floor, looked straight at her, and made very, very strong eye contact. And I turned to her and I said, I did it my way. I did it my way. And she looked in complete disbelief and shook her head. Now, what was a really, really important thing with that is that I was bringing through her grandfather. That was a really, really important message for her to do things her way. Really, really important. Okay, but also it was the song that was played at his funeral. Okay, spirit try to show us that they are there in so many different ways. You know, I always say that information is all information, you know, and you can put it down to coincidence, you can put it down to random things. You know, is it that the person that's spinning that record's influenced by spirit? Probably not. But is it the fact that spirit are drawing your attention to the radio at that time to turn it on? Probably yes. You know, there's so much here that we can explore, you know, and we can put it down to our imagination, we can put it down to wishful thinking, but is it, you know? um, Believe me, I believe, you know, when we kind of look at the question, do the dead miss us? My answer to that is absolutely yes, in a way. And I say in a way because, you know, they're there, they're guiding us, they're nudging us, you know, they're trying to show us, you know, they're still there. My heart tells me everything I do every day that they're still there. Yes, you can talk to them. They see you, you know, they care about you. They listen. They listen to, you know, your prayers, your hopes, your dreams. You know, our anger, our sadness, they watch. You know, they watch us cry, they watch us sleep, they watch over us. You know, how many times have you woken up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason and you sense a presence within your room? You know, that happened to me so often when I was a kid. So they watch over us, you know, they watch us cry, they watch us sleep, they watch us sometimes cry some more, you know, and they watch us put our lives back together. And the thing that I really kind of take from all of what I've done for the last 25 years is that they celebrate when we have a victory, when we learn, when we grow, when we overcome our challenges. They really do celebrate. It's almost like they're willing us on from the sidelines of life, you know, wanting us to become the greatest version of ourselves. You know, they know what's in our hearts, and they know that life is absolutely an amazing gift. You know, and as I was saying to you earlier, you know, are we moving through time or we're in time? You know, because time is a most precious, sometimes undervalued thing that we have within life. You know, They are really wanting us to move into our greatest, fullest potential. They are literally cheering us on from those sidelines. Yet they're also, you know, in my experience of those moments where I've had those kind of conversations for a consultation, and someone's asked what it's like over there, you know, they're spending time to get to know the other side of life, you know, reconnecting with those they have not seen in a long time. I can remember a gentleman coming through from Spirit, and this lovely lady I was consulting with said to me, what's it like the other side of life? What's it like when you pass? And this gentleman come through and said, it was like returning home. The only way that I can describe it, he said, is it was like going home. It was like going back home. And he said he could see the street that he grew up in as a child. And he said it was like all the bikes were still left out on the street, as they often were. The football, the hula hoop was left on a lawn, and everything was just left as it was. You know, you can kind of picture that on a summer's day, can't you? You know, all the kids gone back into tea, and everything kind of left, skateboard left, football, and everything else left out on the street. And he said he kind of walked down to the end of the street, and it was the end house, which was his grandparents' house. And the gate was open. He turned round the gate, went down the path, went round the back of the house as he often did, and he went in through the back of the house as he always would have. And there he was greeted by a lot of people he hadn't seen in a very long time. And I just kind of, you know, could really feel that feeling of being met and being greeted by those he hadn't seen for such a long time. You know, there's a powerful realization that, you know, I've experienced at times of Spirit coming through, that no one really dies. It's not an end, you know. And as many people have said, and the Spirit said, that would be, wouldn't it be a flaw in the design? Question mark. You know, we simply transform. You know, if us living could remember that they're not truly gone, I'm sure it would help. We do grieve their loss, you know, and I think that that's an important process. You know, the loss of their physical presence within our lives, you know, and that's a real loss. You know, it's a very, almost rips you apart loss at times. But in my experience, it's not a complete never going to see you again loss. It really isn't. You know, so Spirit often say, you know, honor us, send us your love and your energy. You know, and I often say, hold them there in your thoughts and heart. You know, I've had people say, can they hear me now whilst you're talking? And I was like, absolutely, they can hear you. And importantly, you know, they know what's in your heart. You know, I've had people say, do I need to travel to their grave or to the cemetery or where their ashes are? They know what's in your heart. If they can appear the presence within the doorway, then actually they're never ever a fault away. And that's a really important thing. You know, and I always say to people, you know, as much as you may feel drawn to go to the medium, in the kind of heart of hearts of everything, is that actually, in fact, we're all mediums. It's just learning to listen. It's learning to kind of listen to those subtle feelings, listen to those subtle thoughts, to question that presence within the doorway. You know, what is really going on with all of that? They are only ever a thought away. I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to leave the kind of love of Spirit with you as well, and any kind of questions, feel free to kind of leave a comment. But there you go. Thanks, guys. Thank you.